Okay, we are on Daf Mem Aleph Amud Beis, and yesterday we were stuck in the middle of a Gemara when we had to stop for Ma'ariv, and we were talking about. No, we didn't get to the two dots. We got to before there. So we said there was a story of Kana and Rasafra were learning Sanhedrin in Rabbi's yeshiva, and Rabbi Bar Chama said to him, "What's going on in Sanhedrin?" They had a whole back and forth, and they explained to Rabbi Bar Chama that the difference between the Chakiris and Badikas is that by Chakiris, if a person says, "I don't know," the Eidus is batal, because it automatically becomes an Eidus Yat Lazima. Because all the Chakiras, which are designed to place the crime within time and space in such a way that other Eidim could come and say, Imanu HaYisem. So those Chakiras, if you don't say them, it makes an Eidish. If you don't know if an Eid doesn't know the answer, it makes it an Eidish Yat Lazima. And if it's an Eidish Yat Lazima, it's no good Eidus. Mashenkin the Bedikas, if a guy said, I don't know, his Eidus is good because it's still an Eidish Yat Lazima, because you know when he said the thing, and you know where he saw the thing, and Eidim could come and say Imanu HaYisem. So the Gemara says, Amar Lahu, Rabbi Bar Chama said back to Rav Kana and Rav Safra, we are about 12 lines up from the bottom. The first word on the line is Lazima. So Amar Lahu, he told them, Yihachi Amrita Batuva. If this is what you're telling me that you learned by Rabbah in the halachas of Sanhedrin, you told me a big chiddush. If this is what you're saying, it's a big thing that you're saying. Amrilei, they told him, it's because of your derech eretz, because your gutzkeit, that you're saying that it's so much. If you would have been tougher. Yeah, if you would be yelling at us about it and telling us and to ask on it, we're nothing connected you. You're Rabbi Bar Chama, you know your stuff, and we wouldn't be able to stand up against you. So they were both being anavim and being derech eretz with each other. Mishnah Vayter. Echad Eimer Chulu. One said it was the second day of the month that it happened, and one said it was the third day of the month that it happened. The Mishnah said that that's okay, because a person maybe made a mistake in whether it was one day Rosh Chodesh and 2 days Rosh Chodesh, and one day they made the mistake. In fact, the Gemara, Ad Kama. How long do you have? Yeah, in other words, do you say that the 29th day of the month or the 27th day of the month also? Let's say one said it was the 26th, and one said it was the 27th. You say they made a mistake for almost 4 weeks already? So, what?
What's the difference in the span of time?
So what is the span of time that we still say it's normal to make a mistake? Today maybe not even one day, because we all have phones that say the date, but more calendars, and we're not Makad Shachat Shbi'ariyah maybe. But in the times of the Gemara, excuse me, how much time can you still say this, that it's going to be okay? Amar Rav Achbar Chanina, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav Yechnan. Rav Achbar Chanina said the name of Rav Asi, name of Rav Yechnan, Ad Ruba Shel Chodesh, until most of the month. We don't know yet what most of the month means, but we do know that past most of the month, it's going to be no good. Amar Rava, what? Say one more time.
It's good.
Yeah, but if you look in Rashi, you see Rashi says, well, let's hold off. Let's see the Gemara in a few lines, okay? I'm sorry, I take it back. It's like you're saying. Ruba Shel Chodesh is pastash, Ruba Shel Chodesh. But now the Gemara has a different question. Rava says, we learned like this also in the Brayse. I'm sorry, we learned this in our Mishnah also. If one says there's the third of the month, and one says the 5th day of the month, this is batal. So because the difference was 2 days. Maybe a guy is 2 months behind. maybe one guy knew that there were 2 Iburin, and one guy didn't know that there were any Iburin, and therefore one guy thinks that it's the 3rd day, and one guy thinks it's the 5th day. It must be because after Rav of the month, everybody knows by now, and therefore you don't say that the mistakes could pile up into the next month.
You find that about
Yeah. Zakdamar, no, maybe not. Maybe in the Rav also people don't know. Uvashifura yada. But the difference is that it's over the month, over by the new month, they blow the shofar to say that it's Mekudesh HaChodesh, that it's the new month. And maybe this guy didn't hear the shofar, and therefore, well, I don't know. Maybe they blew it in multiple places. Maybe it wasn't that he didn't hear the actual shofar. It's he didn't hear from someone else who heard the shofar that the shofar was blown. So, what was that? So the Gemara says, no. Where it says B'chad Shipura, and we're learning with the Bach's here. So B'chad Shipura, I'm reading the Tay. By one shofar, you say it makes a mistake. B'chad Shipura le'amr the Tay, and 2 shofars you don't say they made a mistake. In other words, the Gemara is saying that how do you know it's Tali in the Rav of the month? Maybe it's Tali in the shofars. And even if it's the 29th day of the month, he may have made a mistake on the last month. In other words, the Rav is not enough to be Kaveya because maybe he just made a mistake in the shofar. But the Mishnah still said, but if it's between Gimel and Hay, that's not going to be good. Not because the Rav is not good, but because you don't say that he made a mistake, that he missed 2 shefaris in a row. So the Gemara says you don't have a right. Okay. Now this Gemara started with a member from Rav Achbar Chanina, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav Yechanan. So we're going to go through a few Gemaras over here now from the same sequence of Amiram, Rav Achbar Chanina, Rav Asi, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav Yechanan, and some of them don't have to do with each other. Over here, this one still has a little to do with it because we're talking about the moon now, and we're talking about the month until now. Amar Rav Achbar Chanina, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rav Yechanan, Rav Achbar Chanina said in the name of Rav Asi, Rav Yechanan, Ad kam Rav al Chodesh. Till when do you do Kiddush Levana? Until the pagima, the indentation of the new moon, is filled. Now, that's how much it is, but how much is that? What's considered filled? Well, how much is that? Amar Rav Yaakov Ra'idi, Amar Rav Yehuda, Rav Yaakov Ra'idi said in the name of Rav Yehuda, Ad Shiva, until the 7th day, because the 7th day of the month is a quarter moon. So now the moon doesn't look like a sickle, it looks like a full half circle. So the pagima, the open part of the moon, is full. That's 7 days into the month. That's a quarter moon. Nardai Amri, what? The middle it's full, but 7 days it's already considered shetismali pigimasa. Nardai say achishas until the 16th, and the Chaim say not the 16th, it's until the 16th, means the 15th from the Mailid, really 14 and change. And that means, because he's saying Achitz Mal Pigasa means until it's completely full. When the moon is a circle, that's considered Achitz Mal Pigimasa. And they both hold in Rabbi Yechanan, like Rabbi Yechanan said, but they're arguing in what Rabbi Yechanan means, what it means Achitz Mal Pigimasa. One holds that it should be like yisra, that's like a bow, and the other one holds that it should be like a sifter, like a seed which is round. So the shaila is what's considered tamali pigimasa. Amalei Rachmi Difti Ravina. Rav Achmi Difti said to Ravina, "V'livra chateva meitiv." How come you don't make a bracha teva meitiv when you, according to Rav Yehuda, you stop making the Kiddush HaChodesh, Kiddush Levana, not Kiddush HaChodesh, you stop making Kiddush Levana from the 7th day on, right? From the 8th day on, right? Because the moon, you only do Achet Smal Pigimasa. But maybe you should say the Bracha HaTeva Meitiv. Why? Because the moon is still getting bigger, and it's good things. It's adding more light to the world. Rashi explains, and you're adding more light to the world. It's a good thing. So fine, you're not going to do Kiddush Levana. Make a teva meitiv, which is a bracha that you make when the Rebbeinu Shalom does good to you. Amar lei atu ki chaser mimerachim dayin emes. What? When the moon is going down from the middle of the month till then, do we say dayin emes? Then therefore, deliver teva meitiv, we should say hateva meitiv in the beginning. So Zak the Gemara. Well, Takazai, maybe it's a good kasha of Levrachim Travayu. In the beginning of the month, say Ateva Meitiv, and then the month say Dayan Emes. The Gemara says no. Even the Hainu Orche, since it's a regular, normal thing, it's part of the cycle of the Rebbeinu Shalom made the world with. You don't make a bracha Ateva Meitiv, you don't make a bracha Dayan Emes. It's the normal way that the world is run. It's not, the moon growing is not a good sign. It's not a good thing. It's more light, but it's not a indicator of a teva meitiv. And the moon getting smaller, waning, is not considered. Yeah. But next member from this string of Amaram. Amar Rav Achnina, Amar Vasi, Amar Yechnan, Rav Achnina said the name of Vasi, he said the name of Yechnan. Call him Avarach al Chodesh Bezmana, Kil Makabel Pnei Shechina. Someone who makes a bracha on Kiddush Levana and in its right time is as if he's Makabel Pnei Shechina. It says over here by Moshe Rabbeinu, when the Rebbeinu Shalom told him about being Kadesh Nisan HaChodesh Zeh Lachem Rosh Chodashim. So it says Hazeh. Uksiv Hasam, and it says by Azasher. We're coming up to that very soon. Zeh Keli Van Veu. Zeh Keli Van Veu. This is my Rebbeinu Shalom, and I'll be glorified with him. So you see that being Makabel Pnei Shechina saying Zeh Keli is like HaChodesh Zeh Lachem. Hanajay Rishmal, we learned in the Yeshiva Rabbi Shmuel, Malay Zachak Yisrael, Lahak Pnei Vim Shav Shemaim, Kol Chodesh V'Chodesh, Dayam. We know this memra from Kiddush Levana. If Klal Yisrael only had the mitzvah, one mitzvah, this mitzvah of Kiddush Levana to be makabel the Rebbeinu Shalom Pnei Vim Shav Shemaim once a month, it would be enough. This would be this would be enough. Amrabaya, Zaktabaya. If they only had this mitzvah, it would have been Kedai. This mitzvah is so chash that this was the only mitzvah. Instead of 613 mitzvahs, you would have had one mitzvah, it would have been good. That would have been good enough. Yeah. Yeah. Dayam, it would be enough. Right? It's like Dayenu, right? Amra Abaye said, Helkach, since this is such a chashva thing, it's like the Makabel Pnei Shechina, right? You should say Kiddush Levana standing up, because you have to say Kiddush Levana standing up. Of the cover of Shechina, you're being Makabel the Shechina. Maremer Marzutri, the Kasvi Mavarchi. Maremer Marzutri, the Bach on the tour explains this means that they would go shoulder to shoulder. The Kasvi lost shoulder. They go shoulder to shoulder and stand up like. That's how other Achronim explain it. But the Bach explains it that Marzutri Mikasvi Mavarchi, they would stand shoulder to shoulder like a Bakavat Gazach, like when you're Makabel Panim, right? You don't sit slouched, you don't go all over the place, you have everything lined up. That's how they would do it to Makabel Pnei Shechina when they're doing Kiddush Levana. So I think the Mishnah Berurah brings down that they would lean on their servants because they were old, they didn't have enough kayach. But there's taka, they would go strain themselves to Kiddush Levana. How are you, Bitzu? I'm in Beis Amud Aleph. Okay. We are on about 12, 15 lines down. The last word on the line is the abbreviation Amar Lei. I'm in Beis Amud Aleph.
No, I got my wife home. My wife's taking her back. And my cousin's birthday. I ran out. So, whatever.
Amle Rav Acha Rav Ashi. Rav Acha said to Rav Ashi, "B'marav in Eretz Yisrael, Mevarchi Baruch Mechadash Chadashim." They say the bracha Baruch Mechadash Chadashim. Amar Lei, Hay Nashi Nidana Mevarchi. Rav Ashi said to Rav Acha, this bracha, Baruch Mechadash Chadashim, even women do it. Why? Because it's a mitzvah to say Shazman Grama, right? So this is not the regular Kiddush. He said, by us, even women do this bracha. We do more. The men do more. What do the men do? Elikad Rav Yehuda. So you do like Rav Yehuda. Dam Rav Yehuda. Rav Yehuda says, this is the bracha for Kiddush Levana. Baruch v'chulu, Baruch et Hashem al-Kiddim al-Chalam. We bench Hashem. Hashem b'mamarai, that in His words, Baruch Hakim, Hashem created the heavens. Uvruach piv, and with the breath of His mouth, Kaviyachol, Kol Tzvam, Hashem created all the armies in the heavens, all the sun, the moon, the stars, the planets. He gave them a set time and place. To all the places, they shouldn't change their purpose and their job. They are happy and rejoice to do the will of their Creator, of Hashem. And Rashi brings down that this is the pasuk we say in Pesuk Zimra on Shabbos. Talking about the sun. So that's what you say that the heavenly beings, heavenly bodies are sasim usmeich and lasur tzen kainim. Pearly emes, they do good, they do truth. They're people they're not people, they're things that do true. Shepulas and emes, and their actions are true. V'lalavana amar, and to the moon it was said, shetischade should be renewed each month. Ateres teferes, a crown of glory. Mamuse vaten, for the people. People are carried to the stomach.
Why was that special?
Why was the moon renewed?
Because it lost its power?
The moon did lose its power, but the his chadshus of the Levana is a symbol for his chadshus of Klal Yisrael. And when I was in, I think, 9th grade, I think it was, many years ago, we just had his yard site. I was in Beis Shraga, but Tzio Salomon, Zatzal, was still the mashgiach in Gateshead. And he came to America for a visit. And for whatever reason, they brought him to Beis Shraga to speak to the Bachram. I was pretty young Bachram. I think I was in high school still then. I think maybe 9th grade. And he spoke about this sugi of the comparison to Klal Yisrael. And it was such a powerful thing. I still remember. I remember the whole vart, but I was actually, I didn't have time. I was actually thinking of trying to bring it in today, to the Stelzu. But it was a powerful thing. But the point was, and the reason that's relevant to your question is that it's a comparison to Klal Yisrael, who are also Neschadish. And that's actually the next words in the bracha. Shenasid Neschadish Kamois. Klal Yisrael will come and be renewed just like the moon is. Al Shem Kvoid Malchusay, and they will praise their Creator with the name of the glory of the Rebbeinu Shalom's kingdom, which will be all over. And Baruch Atah Hashem, then you finish, Rav Ashi says to Rav Acha, then you finish all the way at the end of that, Baruch Atah Hashem B'Chadash Chadash. Blessed are you Hashem, who makes the month new. Okay, next Gemara. Now this one, till now we were talking about the moon a bit, now we're going to a different topic. There's a pasuk in Mishlei that says, with tachpulas, with strategies, you should do war. And now, the reason why we're saying this is because it's the same string of Amaram. Amarav Achbar Chanina, Amarav Asi, Amarav Yechnan. Rav Achbar Chanina said the name of Rav Asi, name of Rav Yechnan. What is this talking about? Tasal Cham, you do war. Who do you find that does the war of Milchama? Somebody who has in his hand bundles of Mishnayos. What does it mean, bundles of Mishnayos? It means you don't find the Milcham Toshatayra as much with the person who's mamish a sharp guy in a Baal Pilpul and could mamish be a lamdan.
Simpleton.
Because not even a simpleton, but the point is, if you don't have many Mishnayos, you're not going to be able to stelzu one thing to the other and say, I don't understand this Mishnah. I understand this Mishnah now because there's a Mishnah somewhere else.
Daf Yomi is supposed to.
Absolutely, we should do Daf Yomi. Kari Rav Yosef and Avshei, Rav Yosef, who was well known, Bez Hashem, when we get to Harias, and the other Harias, the Gemara says that Rabba and Rav Yosef were both being considered for the position of Rosh Hashiva. And the Gedolim, the people in that time, sent a message to Eretz Yisrael, and they said, what's better, the Sinai or the Eikar Haram? The Sinai is the person who has a lot of Mishnayos, a lot of Mamarim. He has like a library. He has everything in his head. Or Eikar Haram is the big Lamdin. And Rav Yosef was the Sinai, and Rabbah was the Eikar Haram. Not to think for a second that Rabbah didn't know a lot of Torah, and not to think for a second that Rav Yosef didn't know didn't know how to say a svara. But what Rav Yosef was known for was being a Sinai, what Rabbah was known for was being an Eikar Haram. The answer they sent back was the Sinai Adif, the one who's the Baki, who has a lot of Bakiyas, is better. Yeah, but it doesn't say which one is better, which of these two things are better. The Gemara of Harias, it says which one was he was Moina Shvachan, right? And then it says Rav Elazar ben Arach was Kineged Kulam, right? But it doesn't say why. Okay? But the Gemara in Hurriya says that they sent back in Eretz Yisrael, from Eretz Yisrael, they sent back a message that the Sinai is Adif. The one who has the big bucky is greater. Why? Because Akol Tzrichim L'Marei Chitaya. Everybody needs the owner of the wheat. In other words, when you go shopping, if you have a computer here, and you have a car there, and you have whatever merchandise there, but you don't have any bread, it doesn't do any good. You need to have the bread. That's the baseline.
Why don't you just push all everything being in the same place
So
for
the
9 years?
So the Gemara says over there that even though they got that message from Eretz Yisrael, they didn't listen, and they made Rabbah be the Rosh Hashiva. Eretz Hashem, we'll get to it. It's not actually so far from Daf Yomi, in a few months from Eretz Hashem. They made Rabbah the Rosh Hashiva. The Gemara says a very interesting thing over there. The Gemara says that all the years that Rabbah was the Rosh Hashiva, Rav Yosef, who was not the Rosh Hashiva, was considered for the position of the Rosh Hashiva and was rejected. He did not call, he had to call a doctor. He wouldn't call him to his house, make a house call. He would go to the guy because he didn't want to look for even a second that he was taking some of the chashivas, or he felt he deserves the chashivas. They went to Rabbah. I was covered for Rabbah. Rabbah was the Rosh Hashiva for, I think it was 20 years, if I remember correctly. And then he was Nifter, and then Rav Yosef became the Rosh Hashiva after that, I think for 2 years, and then he was Nifter. But that's what the Gemara is saying over here. Rav Yosef, Rav Yosef was the big bucky. He said on himself, "V'rav tevuos b'koyach shar." A lot of tevuos in the strength of the axe. Yosef, we have Yosef is b'char shari haderlai, right? The bracha of Yosef and V'zayis bracha by Moshe Rabbeinu said on the last day of his life, b'char shari haderlai. So Yosef is associated with the shar. And we said, Hakol Tzrichim L'Marei Chitaya. What's Chitaya? Taisa says that's the Tvua that this pasuk says. So he said in himself that he's a baki. He said that this pasuk, V'rav Tvuas B'Kayach Shar, is talking about me, that I'm a baki. Okay, that's the end of the memorim that we said for V'acha Bar Chanina, Amar Rav Asi, Amar Rabbi Yochanan. Now we go weiter in our Mishnah. Echad Amar B'Shtei is Chulu. He said that if one said it happened 2 hours into the day, and one said it happened 3 hours into the day, that's a normal mistake. We don't pass away them because of this. Amar Rav Simi Barashi, Lo Shanu El Shais. The Rav Simi Barashi says this is only when they made a mistake in hours. If one said 10 minutes away apart from each other, one said it was before Nates and one said after Nates, they do some batela. The Reidus is batal. You don't make a mistake between before Nates and after Nates. Yeah. Track them up Shita. Everyone knows, you guys just said it yourself. Of course you know that.
9 and day.
Right. Well said, right. One said before Nates. The Bach says Biha at Nates. Okay. So one said right before and one said at Nates. So it's again a couple minutes away from each other. That's the chiddush. The chiddush is still they're no good. That's also pashut because the mice it's 2 separate. You don't make a mistake between Nates and non-Nates. Where it says no, it's not pashut because you could have a havamina then you would make a mistake. What's the havamina? You say the guy who said it was at Nates. Really, he was in the open. He was in an open place, wide horizons.
Very light.
And he saw maybe the shine, the rays as they were coming. The sun didn't come up yet, but the sky starts getting light. So he thought it was already Nates. It really was before Nates. But they really both saw it at the same time. But one thought it was maybe one
different
thought.
angles.
Yeah. So the Mar says, Kamash Mullah, no, this is that mistake that people don't make, and it's still not going to be good. Then the Gemara says, V'achach machnisin chulu. He said that Talmud, if the Talmud said a reason for schus, he said they would bring the Talmud up to the front, and we have him sit with the Diyanim. The lashon of the Mishnah was. Here it is. One of the Talmidim said, I have a schus for him. Malin, I'm reading from the Mishnah now. Malin, I see you bring him up. And you have him sit with the other Dayanim.
Bring him another chair?
What? Bring another chair. You would not go down the whole day. And if there's taka taina in what he said, it's good what he said, you listen to him. So the Mishnah, the Gemara says, etc., etc. Fact the Gemara, you have the Talmud sit there just that day and not more. But time you will learn in the Brayso, and Yesh Mamish B'dvar. The Talmud Taka said a good taina. It's a promotion, like we call it a battlefield promotion, and he doesn't go down anymore. The Brayso continues, if he taka said a bad taina, then he doesn't go down that day, so that his going up shouldn't be a yerid. In other words, it shouldn't be end up being a bezayin for him that they bring him up and 10 minutes later they knock him back down. Well, you see over here that he stays. If it says a good time, he stays forever. When the Mishnah is mashman that he says he stays only one day, that's a situation where Hitaka did not say good time, and then he stays one day. But if Hitaka had a good taina, then like the Brayso says, he stays up there, and that's his battlefield promotion. And much less chus, the Mishnah continued and said, if they find the chus and they patter him, but if they find the chayv, then they stay overnight. They sleep on it, and during that night they eat a little and they don't drink wine. In fact, why don't they drink wine? It says Amar Kra, the pasuk says, to a sheikhar. And with darshan this pasuk in Mishlei, people are being Isaac in the secret of the world, which is Rashi explains is these where did I see it? Taisa says Raza Shalom is dinei nefashos, then al yishtakru, they shouldn't get drunk. So this is a very important thing, and getting drunk is contraindicated to the purposes that they're trying to do. The Gemara continued, the Piska on the side, it says that this Piska should be done in Elu Kineged Elu Ad Sheyira. What happens is the Dayanim split, then you add on 2 Dayanim. And then they continue to split, you add on another 2 until you get up to 71. Then what happens if you have 71 and you can't split anymore? You can't add anymore. What do? Then they each handle with each other until one of them changes their mind. Either one of the Pater ones says Chayiv, or one of the Chayiv ones says Pater. What happens if they keep on handling and nobody convinces anyone? Everyone is dead set. Everyone says exactly what they said before, and nobody's changing their minds. You pater the guy, you send him out. This can be in 2 situations. Either when there's this is one situation. This is a situation where it's 36 are Machayiv and 35 are Pater.
When you can do that.
Right, because you need to have 2, right? So Rav Acha and Rabbi Yochanan say you pater the guy, you send him home because you don't have enough to convict him. Amler Papa Lavai of Lifter Meikar, or Papa says to Abai, I don't understand. Why are we patering this guy? Because you don't have enough to convict him. All the way in the beginning, you didn't have enough to convict him either. You started off with 23. And you had 12 Chayiv and 11 patering, so you don't have enough to convict them. Say the same thing, send them home. Right? What do you add and add and add? You're trying to, remember, Bezdin tries to pater the guy. That's the goal of Bezdin. So why are you delaying by adding? Just say, okay, you don't have enough. Amarlei, Hachim Rabbi Yochanan. He said, so Abaye said back to our Papa, this is what Rabbi Yochanan says, that it shouldn't come out from Bezdin in a machlekes, that people think that, hey, Bezdin doesn't know how to pass in a case. So you have to add on and add on, out the cover of Bezdin. But if it still does not convince, then you pater the guy. Ikadamri, some said a different version of this dialogue, back and forth. Amler Papa Arbaya, V'lamali Yesifu, Liftre mi Beidina Kama. Why do you add from the first Bezdin when you have 23? Why do you add on 23? Not like we said before, why do you add to 71? But why do you add 23 instead? Just do like we do by the 71 if they can't come up with the answer. In other words, have them handle with each other. You have the 23 day on him, and 12 said Chayiv and 11 said Pater. Okay, let's sit and talk it out and see if anyone's going to change their mind. Why don't you do that? So Amalei, Abai said to Rav Papa, Rabbi Yosi Koi Kavasach. Rabbi Yosi Taka holds like you. The Tanya will learn in Raisa. Rabbi Yosi Aimer Rabbi Yosi says, Kashem Shem Esifna Bezin Shloshim Be'echad. Just like you don't add to Bezin Shloshim Be'echad, even if they don't have a clear majority. Kachem Esifna Bezin Shloshim Shloisha. He holds also you don't add on the Bezin of 23, and you just handle with each other until you have a psak. Rabbanon learned. This is a brayso in the Tosefta, and it says like this: by din mamnis you say quote nizdaknadin, and by din nefashis you don't say quote nizdaknadin. What's going on? In fact, the Gemara, mine nizdaknadin. What's nizdaknadin? Ilema. It's a strange word. This word. Ilema kashdina. Maybe nizdaknadin means it's from a lashon of zaken, a lashon of old. What does it mean? What does it mean that it's old? It means, like you said, it took too long. It's deep. We don't know the answer. We have to go from clarinet.
With next town, right? With next town. You don't know the answer. With next town.
No. It's just in the Bezdin itself. In the Bezdin itself, you have the Bezdin, but he didn't say. You don't get up. Nobody gives a clap on the and says, Rabbi saying this dakanadin by dinamamnus. We say we don't know. We say we don't know the halach. This is we got to think into it. By dinafashus, you don't say it. Practical Gemara, if that's what it means, it should be the other way around. Because we always, by giving fashas, we want to say that we don't know. We want to think about it more. We want to give the guy more of a chance to go free. So, I'm Rav Huna Bar Manayach, Mishvei Ravach, Breder Avika. Rav Huna Bar Manayach, same name of Rav Breder Avika. Taka Eipach, you flip it around. It should be the other way around. And by dinner mamanis, you don't say nizdaknadin. By dinner fashis, you do say nizdaknadin. Rav Ashi Amar Rav Ashi says no, you don't switch it. The Gerson, the Tosefta is correct. Mine is nizdaknadin. What does it mean nizdaknadin? The exact opposite. Chakem dina. Chakem dina means we came out with a good pshat. We know the halacha. This is clear. We know the halacha, and we don't have to go further. So by dina mamanes, you say that. You say, you know what, guys? We know the halacha. It's in chashmishpritzim and tafresh yud, whatever it is, and it's good. Right? But in Dinei Nefashis, we don't say that. No, we don't say this is a clear-cut halacha. We sit and we think it over again.
So life involved.
And we think it over again and we try to come up with, make sure that we're saying the right thing. Practically, Gemara, Meisvel asks you a kasha, and this is the very next words in the Brayso of the Tosefta. Gadol Shabadiyanim, I mean, is Daknadin. The greatest, the Av Bezdin, the greatest one of the Yanim, he's the one who says this Daknadin. Now, Iyan B'Shleim Chakim Dina. If you say that it's the pshat is that you're saying chakiv, we know the halacha. This halacha is clear. We don't have to look at it more. That's why it's the gadol who has to say it. He's the one who has to determine whether or not it's a clear halacha. Eliyama kashdina. But if you say that the what you're saying is that you don't know the halacha, then it has to be the gadol who's saying this. He's embarrassing himself by saying the gadol doesn't know.
He doesn't know.
But I'm saying, but why does it have to be the zaken? The Bryce is saying
low guy is saying the guy doesn't know it, and then.
So I'm the low guy in Bezdin, and I say, guys, this is a tough halacha. It's not clear what's going on.
The gadol knows it. Maybe the gadol knows it. He doesn't know either.
But we're saying that only the gadol could say it.
I understand that.
So why only the gadol could say it? Let the katan say, I don't know. Remember, we always start with the katan anyway to say the psak.
Who's finishing the dream? Who's the last man standing? The older person, right?
That's true. But still, why does he have to embarrass himself? Okay. Mar says, Taka, no, he does have to embarrass himself. Why it's better that he should say we don't know the halacha than someone else who's less than him should say it. Because it's better to embarrass yourself than to embarrass other people. In other words, when you're in a situation where you could be embarrassed by somebody else versus you sort of own up to it by yourself first, it's easier for a person to own up first and sort of be in control of the message than to have someone else who's embarrassing you. So when the katan would say nizdaknadin and taka they don't know the halach and the gadol doesn't know the halach either, it would look worse for the gadol that he didn't say it, that he doesn't know that.
I'm saying if the young guy doesn't know it, is he going to ask the old guy what do you think?
They already handled.
So they came out their own notes. I see what you're saying.
Right.
Instead of me saying a big guy, you have young guy.
Right. Ikadamri, others said like this, that the kasha from this Gadol says in Zaknadin, the kasha is like this. If you say pshat is, we're saying, I don't know that, we don't know the halacha. That can make sense why the Gadol shouldn't be able to say it, because better that he should embarrass himself than other people should embarrass him. But if you say it means that we know the halacha and it's very clear the halacha, the gadol is like sort of preening, is patting himself on the back. Guys, we know this halacha well. But the pasuk says, it's more appropriate for somebody on the outside to praise you than for you yourself to praise you. So Mar says, no, Shani Milsa de Beidina da Gadol Ramya. The proceedings of Bezdin are the responsibility of the Gadol. And since they're the responsibility of the Gadol, Hitaka has to say, even though it looks like he's saying, we know our stuff and everything is good, he's mechayiv to say that. How do you know this? Kidetan, like we learned in the Mishnah, Gamra Sadavar, when they finished the psak, they finished the back and forth, they would bring everyone back in, and Gadol Shemadayan Naimer, the most chashuv Yanim says, Ishplainat Tazaki, Ishplainat Chayiv. He would be the one who says that. You don't have another one who would say it.
You have to say it.
Right? In other words, you see that he's the one who says the business of Bezdin. You don't say, going to have somebody, all he's doing is announcing the verdict. What's the big deal? Who says it? No. The Gadol Shemadayan is responsible for the Bezdin proceedings, and he's the one who says it. Let's go right there. Short paragraph.
We're going there.
Yeah, sure. You want to go get one?
No.
Okay. The Mishnah says weiter. Nigmar hadin. The din was finished. You take the person out to skila. And the Mishnah says skila because that's the first of the four misas, Rashi explains. But really, whichever misa it was. We're talking about din and fashas over here. So they would take him out to skila. The place where they do the skila would be out of Bezdin, outside of Bezdin. The Bach adds in the words rachik mi Bezdin and far from Bezdin. In other words, it wasn't in the Bezdin quarters itself, and it also wasn't right near there. It was far from Bezdin. Shenemar, like the pasuk says, the pasuk says by the Makalel, they had to take him out to skila. Now, what they would have over here was Echad Aymed al Pesach Bezdin. They'd have a guy after they said that the guy is chayiv. After they said that the guy is going to be get skila, they have a guy standing outside the Bezdin door. Vasadar v'yodin. He's got a flag, a kerchief, a piece of cloth to wave in his hand. And then they had the susrachak and they had somebody on a horse as far away from the person as possible, but still close enough that he could see if he waves the flag.
This happened every day, or just by big cases? There must be thousands of cases.
We're talking about din and fashas. Remember, we said Maramaka says that we're talking about the din and fashas, a bezdin that killed somebody in 7 years would be considered a katanas. Right? It wasn't very common that this happened. So they had the Bezdin had somebody standing outside the door of Bezdin with this flag, and there was somebody as far as possible as this guy on a horse that was watching the guy with the flag. And if somebody in Bezdin said, "I got a schus for this guy," Bezdin would have the flag guy wave his sudar, and then the guy with the horse would run, it would ride fast to Mamidan and stop them from doing the skila. Now, even if he himself, the guy himself, says, "Wait, I have extenuating circumstances. I have a reason that I should be pater." You bring him back into Bezdin to relitigate the case even 4 or 5 times. As long as what he's saying has some sort of substance.
What do
you mean?
He keeps screaming that he might have killed somebody.
But if he has his chus, then he has to come back, right? Okay. And again, we're talking about the halachas of skila, but remember, Bezdin had the ability to do corporal punishment, we'd call it, and makin shleim min adin, when they felt it was necessary. So you could have, like, I'm imagining, I don't want to put words in the Amaram and the Tanam, but I think, and this is a very big lahavdil. You remember O.J. Simpson?
Yeah.
He got
guilty. Did he die?
He was so guilty. Yeah, but he got freed from the criminal case. Right, he was acquitted in the criminal case, but then he got convicted in the civil case. Right. lahavdil, many havdalas, right? It's possible that a person would be acquitted from the criminal case over here, but Beis Din would anyway give him a punishment because they know that things aren't right over here. Gemara. You're saying that the Beis Skila in the Mishnah said was out of Beis Din, far from Beis Din, but it was only outside Beis Din, and it wasn't more than chutz the Beis Din. Vatanya learned in the Brisa, the Beis Skila chutz the shash machnas. The Beis Skila wasn't just out of Beis Din; it was out of all three machnas. In Yerushalayim, the machna Kahuna is the Azara, and then the Azara is the Machna Kuna or the Machna Shechina. The Harabayis is the Machna Levia. The whole Yerushalayim is the Machna Yisrael. So if we chutz l'shalosh machnas, it'd be outside the city walls. And in other cities, Rashi says, it'd be the same thing. There's no Machna Levia and Machna Shechina, Machna Yisrael, but it would be outside the city walls. So how come our Mishnah is mashma? It's only a little far out. Where it says in Kedekamrit, it's taka true what you're saying that it has to be like the Brisa says outside all three machnas. And the reason why it says over here just chutz leBeis Din nafkamina he nafak beidina v'yasam chutz l'shash machnas avdin beiskila chutz leBeis Din. The nafkamina is if for whatever reason Beis Din is sitting and convening outside the three machnas and sitting outside the city limits. Still, you move the Beis Skila far from Beis Din a bit. So it shouldn't look like Beis Din is Reitzchen. They shouldn't be so closely associated with the execution. Or another reason, so that he shouldn't get killed right away. In other words, if they're killing the guy right near Beis Din, then there's no chance
they might come up and saying he's not
exactly. So move him out a little. So by the time they take him there, somebody might come up with a reason to call him back and pater him. How do you know that the Beis Din, that the Beis Skila, was outside all three machnas? The Tanur Rabban which learned in the Brisa. The pasuk says by the Makalel that you have to take. Hashem said to Moshe Rabbeinu, take him out. Actually, I think it was Moshe Rabbeinu speaking this. I could be wrong, but I think it was Moshe Rabbeinu speaking. To take him out of the machna, and the Gemara, the Brisa says this means chutz l'gimel machnas outside all three machnas. In fact, the Gemara, how do you know? The Brisa says chutz l'gimel machnas. You're saying it's outside three machnas. Maybe it's only outside one machna. Gemara says never kan mechutz l'machna, and it says over here mechutz l'machna. What the Gemara is going to do is bring other places in the Torah where it says mechutz l'machna, and we're going to learn out from each one that it must be a little further. And once we learn out that it's further, we know that every time it says mechutz l'machna, it's got to mean one thing mechutz l'machna. So every time it says mechutz l'machna, it means all the way out of the three machnas. So the Gemara says you're telling me maybe it's three machnas, maybe it's only one machna. Gemara says never kan mechutz l'machna. It says over here by Mekalel mechutz l'machna. Remember the Paramon Esrafen chutz l'machna. By Paramon Esrafen, where the Parham Davar Shel Tzibor or the Parakain Mashiach, the halach is they get burned in chutz l'machna. So it says over there also in chutz l'machna. It's just like over there it's outside three machnas. Afkan chutz l'shash machnas. Over here also it's outside three machnas. In fact, the Gemara. Wait a second, and how do you know that Param and Esrafen is outside all three machnas? Gemara says the Tanur Rabban the Rabbanon learn. You take the whole par out of the machna, and we say chutz l'shalosh machnas. The par helm davar shel tzibur. You take it out of all three machnas. You're telling me it's outside all three machnas. Maybe it's only outside of one machna. Gemara says, it's when it says it's talking about the par hel davar shel tzibur. And it didn't have to say over there that it's mechutz l'machna. Why? It already says by Parham Davar Shel Tzibur that you should burn it just like you burn the Par Harishan, which is the Par Kain Mashiach, right? So you didn't have to say it again. Why does it say again and mechutz l'machna by the Parham Davar Shel Tzibur? The Gemara says, to say it's not the first machne out, it's another machne out. It's two machnes. So now I know that whenever it says mechutz lamachne, it means at least two machnes out. But how do I know the third? When it says by chutz lamachne, by the Trumas Hadeshen, the pasuk says, right? The pasuk says that the beginning of Parashas Nasi, right? Where it says the pasuk says that you take the Trumas Hadeshen and the chutz lamachne. She'ein tam leimar. You didn't have to say it. Sharei kvar nemar al shefach hadeshen usaret, because it already said that you take the par helam davar shel tzibur and you burn it by the place of shefach hadeshen, and the place of shefach hadeshen, the par helam davar shel tzibur we know is mechutz lamachne. And so now we're saying that mechutz lamachne of par helam davar shel tzibur is by shef where you pour out the deshen. So that when by the pasuk by shefach hadeshen didn't have to tell us that it's mechutz lamachne, because by par helam davar shel tzibur it already said that you do it by the shefach hadeshen, which the par helam davar shel tzibur says mechutz lamachne. So you have a third time it says mechutz lamachne, and it didn't need to do that. Right? Makes sense?
Good.
The pasuk by Param Davar Shal Tzibur says like this: "Vayitzias kol ha'parim mechutz lamachne." You take the whole par to outside the machne. It's mechutz lamachne. El makom Torah to a Torah place. El shefach hadeshen to the shefach hadeshen, the place where you pour the ashes from the mizbeach every morning when you take the deshen. You pour the ashes out. Now that means it's telling us that mechutz lamachne is shefach hadeshen is mechutz lamachne, right? If I say to you, go park my car in the parking lot on Stevens, right? Then if I tell you sometime, go to the parking lot, I don't have to say the parking lot is on Stevens, because I already said the different time the parking lot is on Stevens, right? It's the same thing. You're saying that go michutz lamachne to the place where you do the deshen. Now I know that the place where you do deshen is chutz lamachne. So why, when the Torah says the halacha of deshen, the actual halacha of deshen, it says take the deshen to mechutz lamachne. It didn't have to say it there. If that's the case, then that's the third time it says mechutz lamachne. That's extra, and therefore that's why it says she'ein tam loimer. It says she'omer al mechutz lamachne b'deshen. When it says mechutz lamachne by the deshen, she'ein tam loimer. It didn't have to say that in Parashas Nasai. Shrei kvar nemar, because it already says by the par al shefach hadeshen yisaref, that you burn the par by the place where you pour the deshen. It's to tell you that that's where you have the third machne. Okay, we're not going to be able to finish this, but let's start it and we'll see how far we get. The Gemara says, let's learn out from Shtutei Chutz. The halacha is that you're not allowed to shech the carbon outside the azara, right? A carbon has to be shechted in the azara, and the halacha is by Shtutei Chutz that it says Pesach oil moed lehivia. If you get an einish, for a person gets an einish for doing a shechita outside, as long as it was outside the machna shechina, right? He didn't bring it to the Pesach oil moed. So you see over there that means that's a one machna out. So the Gemara is not two or three. So the Gemara is asking, so let's learn out from Shtutei Chutz and say that just like over there you're not allowed to do it outside, over here also you're not allowed to do it outside, but just like over there it's only one machna, over here also it's only one machna. So and the Gemara says, "Ma'lalan chutz l'machnachas, avkan chutz l'machnachas." Just like over there, it's chutz l'machnachas. Over here also, it's one machna. So the Gemara says, and this is what we're going to have to break. It makes sense to judge to learn this out, the halacha of Mekalel and Param Davar Shal Tzibur, etc., from Param Nasrafin, and not from Shtutei Chutz. Shekein hoitza el michutz lamachne machshir mechaper. This is a remez for siman, I should say, for a couple of commonalities between these two. And the Gemara is going to say it makes sense. These are congruent, but it's going to take too long to say what they are. So let's hold off tomorrow, Mitzvah Shem, and we'll either pick it up tomorrow.